Episode take one. What's up, y'all? This G from Silenzio. I'm here today. I really wouldn't call this a podcast. This is more so like a talk series where I'm going to be interviewing different entrepreneurs on business, and we're just going to get into what entrepreneurs go through on a day-to-day basis, what I go through on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to be bringing in different artists from fashion, maybe guys that's in marketing. We're just going to be, I want this platform to be used for people to be able to get as much information as possible that can help you with your business, and you can also hear the raw things that entrepreneurs go through on a day-to-day basis. Because the good thing is, like, this, I feel like all of this content will be able to help me market my class, all of that, like. So we could get into this. This was like today is about, for real, me just explaining myself and a little bit of my story and how I came up in this business. All right, so high school, I'm in ninth or 10th grade. My dad, he already had the clothing brand Silenzio. He was locked up. Silenzio wasn't relevant. It was pretty much put in the closet. You know, he never thought about doing it again. I never even thought about picking the brand back up. So he has these shirts in the attic at my house. I take them to school. I really just started to see that a lot of people was liking it. So I'm like, it kind of rung a light bulb on maybe I should start selling the clothes. So one thing lead to another. I actually started pushing the clothes. I started selling the clothes when I was about 17, really taking it serious, and it kind of started from there. Yes, when I went to Bowie State for a year, I definitely attempted to sell the clothes. Like, people wasn't buying that shit at first, I'm not gonna lie. Like, my first semester up there, people really wasn't buying that shit. It was like people that I still went to high school with that was buying it at first. But I remember, like, we went on fall break, and it's like a switch just hit. Like, I told myself, like, I'm about to go 100% hard. Like, I was fucked up at the time, wearing the same shit every day. Like, I was just tired of being fucked up, to be honest. So I really just started taking it seriously. One thing leads to another. I dropped out of school. I knew school wasn't for me. You know, I felt as though school wasn't for me because I looked at it as, how were these professors going to teach me how to be rich? And they weren't even rich themselves. Even though you can learn and network in school, I just was never the school type of person. I literally got my way into Bowie State from my parents. My mom knowing somebody. Like, she knew the president of the school, and like they signed off on some shit to get me in. I really got denied to get into school. But school was never my cup of tea. You know, I was an average student, didn't really want to go to school, so I jumped in full-fledged on my hobby. I was selling shirts out the trunk for a long time. For a very long time, I just started off out the trunk. I actually got a job at a screen print shop. I started working there for about a year, little over a year and some change. And then I opened up my own screen print shop, and like the rest was history. I feel like I always believed in what I had. I believed in what I had. The messages were still relevant in those timings from the shirts that my dad already created. That was the crazy thing. When I got into it, my dad already had the designs. So like everything that I was selling, this shit was literally made 15 years ago. So when I was selling this shit, like, it was still related. It just had to give it some time to marinate and actually get out there. I had to just be patient, to be honest. But I had to just really start pushing that shit hard. I started pushing it real harder, like giving it to people, you know, who had names on campus, things like that. Once I did that, it seemed like things were, you know, getting a little bit better. Then I started doing drop-offs, heavy. You know, like out the trunk, basically on my Instagram every day, like, hey, I'm pulling up wherever you at. One thing led to another, and I became Silenzio. Patience is definitely important because it's like, it's gonna be so many days when you feel like, man, like, this shit not working, it ain't going right. Like, you really gotta just believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. I had a dream that this brand could be one of the biggest brands in the world, and I just kept dreaming no matter how cloudy my storm looked. I kept dreaming, I kept believing in myself, and I was so fed up of how I was living. Like, I went from being a kid that had a lot. You know, when my dad was home, I had pretty much whatever I wanted. When he went to jail, a lot of things changed for me. A lot of struggle that I wasn't accustomed to a lot of things change. So when you used to living a certain way in a certain lifestyle, of course the natural thing to do is to want to live like that again. So I was already accustomed to living a certain way. So when he went away and things were changing and certain struggles were happening in my household, it made me mature faster and want to get out here on my own and give me some money. So I was always a hustler though. You know, in high school I sold candy, fruities. I was the candy man in high school, heavy. So I always had an entrepreneur mindset. I grew up in entrepreneurship. My mom and dad, they both had stores when I was growing up and businesses that I was around. So I literally came up in an entrepreneur environment. I really didn't know nothing else. I never had a job. I had one job when I was 16 at Readers. They fired me because they said I wasn't catching up fast enough. I wasn't catching on fast enough. Some shit like that. But I never really had a job, so entrepreneurship was literally instilled in me my whole life. I was into basketball at first, you know. I was into basketball at first, so before entrepreneurship, basketball was like my thing. So I think I would have been doing something in that field, whether it was playing or coaching. We was still really, my dad went away when I was really young, so you know we did get a chance to you know, do business together while he was inside of jail, so it did give us something to build our relationship on, but it didn't give us closer. No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I didn't chose the street route because, I mean, I had struggles, you know, with the streets growing up, but I felt as though I was smart enough to know that that game was not going to get me anywhere. I already seen how it affected my family when my dad went away. So it just didn't make sense for me to try to take that same path and put my mom through the same shit a second time. So I was smart enough to know, like, if you put the right product in my hands, it's a wrap, you know. And that was kind of like, I remember like coming into the clothing, my mom really didn't even want me to sell the shirts because of what it was saying, like the messages, the street messages that the shirts were saying. She was afraid that I was going to get, you know, just wrapped up into a street crowd. But my dad told her, like, you know, look, this my son. You gotta put the right product in his hand, because if you don't put the right product in his hands, he's not just gonna not get no money. So luckily, man, it was like a blessing, man. I really feel as though that the clothing line was left after for me, and it protected me from not having to do any wrong to get money. Yeah, I feel as though my work ethic is definitely why I'm still here today. I truly believe of outworking people. Like, I always been a hard worker. I wasn't like the smartest kid, but I always was willing to work extremely, extremely hard. So that's definitely like a big advantage that I have over people. Like, I have a desire to really outwork people, and I test myself every day with waking up at 7 a.m., working out, and I do a lot of things to help my mindset, like reading and listening to different motivational speakers on a day-to-day basis, just making sure that my mind stays strong. So I feel as though I always did a lot of things that just keep my mind strong and keep me going. But my work ethic is definitely a big reason on why I'm here today. I started to realize that as I got older, when you got friends, it's all love at the end of the day, but some of your friends are just going to go a different path. Like, you going to be going this way and they going to be going that way. So you're naturally just going to just go separate ways. I feel as though I was smart enough to also know what I wanted to be around. You know, if I was around guys that I didn't really respect or what they were doing, or they were around the wrong crowd of people, I didn't hesitate to remove myself from that. So I'm speaking to that kid, man, that's in the hood, that pretty much all they seen was poverty, you know, their whole life growing up in the ghetto, and had to overcome certain things, not growing up in a household with a present father, a present mother. I'm speaking to those kids to let them know that, man, it's very possible to get to this point, but it's going to take a lot of sacrifice. It's going to take a lot of knowing how to remove negativity things around you, and basically just knowing that, man, it's so much more out there in life, but you have to be willing to commit yourself and sacrifice a lot of things. And even if your homie's looking at you different because you on a different type of time and you don't want to be street, it's okay. It's okay not to be a gangster. It's okay not to sell no drugs, shoot a gun. It's okay not to be that. And that's who I'm speaking to. I wouldn't say it was hard to come to terms. It was more so hard because like I feel lonely a lot. You know, like when they say like it's lonely at the top, that shit is true. Like I remember like on Christmas Day, like I went out to eat like by myself at a restaurant. Like I just wanted to be alone. I felt super just lonely because I realized like damn, like all of my homies that I was hanging with at a certain point in time, like they not around no more. Like just none of the guys that I used to be with is around no more. So I felt as though like I don't really have any friends, you know. And then like a lot of people that are around me are people that I do business with. So it's like I'm really still looking for a outlet to be able to have a friendship with people. You know, I feel like my whole life is really about business. You know, I don't really have like real friends anymore, and it's dangerous because you have to watch everything now when you get to a certain point because you don't know why people are around. I really wouldn't say I would go about it any differently. I feel as though I went about it the right way. You know, it's just it hurted. You know, just having certain relationships where people start to look at you different because you just want to do something right or you just doing the right thing, and people think that you changing, but you're not really changing. You just growing, and it hurts to honestly outgrow people that you love. You know, I outgrew a lot of people that I love just because of where I was going at. The path that I was going on is separating me from them. It ain't the same. It ain't the same because they can't even relate to what you got going on anymore. So the conversations are just different. It's just the energy is way different now because you have elevated yourself and elevated your mind to think on a whole nother level now, and you just not there anymore. So one thing I would say, man, pray to God. Keep God first. You got to keep God in your life no matter what you're going through. So I feel like me having a relationship with God and praying, that's number one that constantly keeps me sane a little bit. Just staying busy, man, doing things that make you happy. You know, working out makes me happy. Working out is like my therapy. You know, I could go in the gym and just think about my thoughts and just really just zone out and go into like my own little world when I'm working out. So you definitely have to have outlets that you can go to and find comfort, you know. I do this because the legacy that I want to leave, man. The legacy that I want to leave. I also know that Silenzio, man, it's a story. It's a real story behind my brand. Like how my dad had it at first. He stopped doing it. I took it to another level. And now that he's home from jail, we reunite and we're able to do it together. So I feel like the story behind it keeps me going. And I really do believe it will be a worldwide brand one day just from the story and the realness of the brand. It's guys that actually can relate to the messages that I'm putting out. So that's what keeps me going for sure. That goes into a lot. Literally, I don't drop pretty much anything that's not going to resonate with my audience. You know, if you have a brand, the key is to know your target audience and know your target market. Once you know that, you only put things out that relates to your target audience. So when I'm designing a piece, I think about that. You know, I think about the person that's buying my stuff or wearing my stuff every day. I think about the type of person they are when we're designing and creating clothes. Worldwide would be like I could call Lil Baby right now and be like, look at this spring shit I'm about to drop. And he like, man, send that shit over right now. That's worldwide for me. You know what I'm saying? If I could get those bigger names, the next step is like getting those bigger names in my clothes and having them actually respecting and wanting to wear the brand, not just like this nigga just gave me this, I'm about to just put it on just to support him. Like I actually like what this man doing. I like the messages they putting out. Like it feels exclusive. So that's the next step for me. Wallow 267. You know, I really like his story because when I was a freshman in college, that was around the time where he just came home from jail. So to see where he's at now today is really inspiring. And I can relate to his story. I didn't do 20 years in jail, but just seeing that somebody came home from scratch, and he only been home for like 5-6 years, and where he at today, it lets you know that if you truly lock in and put in the work, you can get there. Like, he done came home and surpassed dudes that been home for 30 years, bro, from 5 years worth of work. So it lets you know how, if you're committed and you focus, you can get to that level too. You know, I like him. I like Jay-Z. I like how Jay-Z moves. He's like a silent businessman. Like, he don't have a social media. You know, like, he moves real silent, but it's powerful. You know, like, he don't have to be all flashy and everybody knowing what they do. But like him, Jay-Z, Wallow, and Diddy, Pete, Puffy, 50 Cent, guys like that. Like, I like what those guys do in business. Pick a target audience and stay there. Don't try to be like this next brand, because you see what they're doing and it's working. Find your niche, stay focused on that one niche and dominate that niche, and everything will come naturally. Like, at the beginning, I made a lot of mistakes with just trying shit that just did not resonate with my audience, and it ended up me losing money, not selling shit because it didn't resonate with the people that I really catered to. You know, I feel like you are your brand, so whoever you are, that's normally what your audience will be, you know, or it depends on, you know, just what you want your brand to be about. But definitely just pick a niche and stay there. And also, don't think that it's going to happen overnight. It takes 10 years to build a brand. Honestly, like, it's not just gonna just happen overnight. Like, you're gonna have drops when you don't sell shit. You're gonna have times where the money not coming in. You're gonna have times where, like, you just feel down and feel like damn, is this even for me? So definitely be ready to endure the journey. Like, please do not get in this business thinking that it's just gonna happen overnight. It does not work like that, because it still hasn't happened overnight for me. You know, no matter what you see or how it looks, I'm still going through struggles just like any human being. And honestly, when you get on a bigger level, it only gets harder. That's a good question, bro. That's a real good question, because I feel like, damn, that's a good question. Yeah, nah, that's a good question, bro. That's a good question, because, like, my mom, when I was first starting out, she used to drill that shit in my head a lot. Like, they don't buy the product, they buy you. You know, people like to see someone going after it and really grinding and hustling every single day. So once I realized that, it kind of changed my whole thought process. Like, my brand was basically built off of me, you know? And it's kind of like, I remember we talked about this before, Justin, because we like, how does that affect having a brand where you have to be like the center of it all the time? You know, some people might just want to make something where they don't have to attach their face to it. But honestly, people buy you and not the product. So it's like, whatever I do today, people gonna support me because they buy me. Just like I started another brand. I fuck on the first date. Don't have nothing to do with what people knew me for. But being as though that people bought me, they automatically bought into that brand when I started it. So it definitely starts with you first. I mean, we got into a little bit at the beginning about what they can expect for this show and this podcast. I don't even want to call it a podcast, because it's more so like a web series, where we're just going to be bringing entrepreneurs on, talking to them, getting just insight on business, man, and hopefully that people can get inspired by some of the things that they hear. As far as what's next for Silenzio, what you can expect from Silenzio, if you've been watching me since 2017, this year, you will definitely be able to see the elevation and my growth of this brand. I feel like I've been through so much failures over the past 5 years that I finally figured out the formula to having a successful brand, and just, I'm ready to show you guys what I've been working on. As far as first date, as far as both of my brands, we're definitely just going to continue to keep elevating the brands. First day is like, I'm looking to definitely expand the brand more, of course, but I'm looking to really just keep getting that shit out here, man, pushing it worldwide as far as I can. It's really just the goal, man, just to get bigger and bigger, just to get so big that I can't even get no bigger no more. All right. This is the first episode of Talks with G. We checking out. Thanks for listening.